Hare Krishna, thank you for joining Gita Saram. So we are discussing chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga, because this is Purushottama month up until 17th of October. So that's why we are reciting Purushottama Yoga, chapter from Bhagavad Gita. So last week we discussed the prayers for offering food to Krishna. So we just quickly read this and then we'll move on to the chapter 15 verse 16. So we already included this in the Kirtan when we sing Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashtaya Desa Tarine. Sushma, would you like to read the translation, please?
Yes, Mataji. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami.
Bhakti-siddhanta,
Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism.
Okay, so this is a prayer offering to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his spiritual master is Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Because of his instruction and the inspiration he received, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, at the age of 69, he traveled to America to give this Krishna consciousness to the world, because he understood that if he gives that to the Westerners, because the Indians, when he tried to give this knowledge to Indians, they were very fond of following the Europeans, Westerners. They were not very interested in Vedic culture. They thought Vedic culture is more like sentimental or old-fashioned, and therefore the people in general those days started to withdraw themselves from following the Vedic culture and started to follow the Western culture. So Prabhupada very intelligently thought, if we give this knowledge to Westerners, then Indians already following Westerners anyway. So if the Westerners are following Krishna consciousness, the Indians follow the Westerners who follow Krishna consciousness will automatically inspired, will automatically get the inspiration and they will follow the Krishna consciousness. So that was his idea, and it was very intelligent idea, and it worked. And the Westerners were very receptive, and because they were so much in depression, even though they were wealthy, opulent and rich and beautiful, everything they had. And generally Westerners are very in economically, physically, everything, they are little more advanced technically, everything, than Indians. But again, we can always argue on that matter, but not to go into too much in detail who is superior. That is not the point. The point I'm trying to convey is because Westerners had everything compared to Indians, general population, who is still called developing countries, but America, for example, it's very rich country. Therefore, they had everything, but they didn't have the mental peace or this happiness. Therefore, they adopted the Vedic knowledge when it was taught to them properly, because it is coming from the disciplic succession, Guru Parampara. It's not that randomly someone standing up in front of the public and started to speak some philosophy with no validation. Not like that, but Prabhupada delivered the message of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita as it is, as per he received from the spiritual disciplic succession. And that was accepted by them because it is the absolute truth. And the next verse, so for that personality, we are offering our obeisances because he is preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Prabhu. Mahaprabhu, because he wanted everyone, villages and towns, all the villages and towns to chant the holy name of the Lord, so they can be peaceful, they can be happy, true happiness they can derive. So that was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission also. So which worked out very well when Prabhupada came. And we have to admit, every one of us have to admit that if Prabhupada had not come, we would not have received this knowledge till now, till today, correct? Even though we are coming from Indian background, still we did not have access to the Vedic knowledge, the Shastras, like as we do now. Okay, we move on to the next verse. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauravishe Namaha. So this is the verse I've just read. Manju, are you in the position to read this, please?
Yes, Mataji. Just a sec. I need to read translation?
Yeah,
or
just
the whole
no, just what I highlighted.
O most munificent incarnational, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you.
Yes, this verse is talking about Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself, came to this world, to India 500 years ago. So he was born in West Bengal, Calcutta, Nadia. So he was, giving this message, the pure love of Krishna, to everybody by his mercy. And it is also understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was more merciful than Krishna himself, because Krishna has standards. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam that one comes to the mode of goodness, then I claim them and I'll take them to Godhead. Okay, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not giving any prerequisite. He is not telling what is the eligibility criteria for you to take up this path. He is simply giving this to everyone, right? Because if we have to be in mode of goodness like Krishna expects, we would never be in mode of goodness. What is mode of goodness? So the mode of goodness is we eat food which are in mode of goodness. We talk as per the mode of goodness. We react or respond to a situation in the mode of goodness. We act, whatever our thinking, willing, feeling, everything should be in the mode of goodness to be qualified to be in the mode of goodness. Like humility, we should have developed humility, forgiveness, tolerance, and peace within, these type of qualifications or qualities or attributes we should develop. How can we develop all this? We don't have purity. We have bags and bags of karma behind us, and we are slowly burning our karma. How do we know we are burning our karma? By our sufferings. We can see whatever our sufferings we are going through, from that we can understand we are burning our karmas. Which is good in one sense, because unless you burn the karma, you cannot move forward. We have to burn our old karma, right? So when we take up the path of bhakti, Krishna consciousness, what happens? The karma bag gets diminished, okay? And Krishna only gives little bit of token of that. Like for example, one time Prabhupada was chopping the vegetables and he accidentally cut his finger. And immediately his disciples are Westerners, and they were surprised because they knew Prabhupada is almost as equal as Krishna. That's how they worshipped Prabhupada, because he was giving the best absolute knowledge to them. Then one of the disciples asked, "Oh Prabhupada, you are the pure devotee of Krishna and you got a cut in your finger. It is not proper. It is unfair. How Krishna could do this? You are dedicating your entire life. You are devoted fully to Krishna. How Krishna could, make you suffer?" Prabhupada very calmly replied, "See, as per my karma or token karma, I could have lost my entire arm. But by the mercy of the Lord, because I am practicing Krishna consciousness, I only got little cut in my finger." So that should be our consciousness. That was Prabhupada's consciousness. But what we do generally, not everybody, but generally some of us, what we do is we complain. Why me? Why me? I was doing fine, and why me? Or why my family members? What did they do wrong? See, we don't know what we did wrong, but the law of karma account captures every single activity that we performed. For every single activity, we have to go through the reaction, whether good or bad. Did we ask why me? Why I only got promotion? Why me? Did we ever ask like that? No. When you get good things, what we say? Yes, great. Let me get it. Let me take that. It's because of my effort, my endeavor, it's my credit. It's because of my own efforts only I receive this promotion. Not because of anyone else or even God. God, what he does, because I endeavored, I worked hard, so he gave promotion. It's me. So they always focused on me. Aham brahmasmi. Aham mameti. Aham mameti. It's me. I am, like that. My center. So, but when we are in the path of devotion, right, we understand whether the good comes to us or bad come to us, we always accept that as the mercy of Krishna to make us come closer to Krishna. That's how we should see it. Okay, that's how Krishna's devotees like Prabhupada, they have seen, and they are teaching us to see that as well. And here it says that Lord Chaitanya Deva, he was preaching the message. Oh, sorry, we are here. Oh, we missed this point. Because the impersonalism and voidism means some people say Krishna, God doesn't have form, he's formless. Some say there is no God at all. So these were very higher in number those days, even today also. Those days, therefore, it has to be, the message has to be delivered to all of them, including those impersonalists and voidists or monists, because they were preaching the wrong messages to the public, and the innocent public were adapting to it. Okay, so the next sloka that we chant for offering the food to Krishna is very, very dear to his devotees and the brahmanas and the cows, and he is the well-wisher of the cows and brahmanas and entire human society and the world. That's what next mantra is saying. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So after chanting these 3 verses 3 times each, of course we will include this also. The Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this is Panchatattva mantra. So Panchatattva, Pancha means 5. So the 5 prominent personalities that were preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, which is giving God consciousness to everybody, or Krishna consciousness to everybody, and that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also included in this Panchatattva mantra. Sri Krishna Chaitanya is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Nityananda is incarnation of Balaram. He is none other than Balaram, and it is also said Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then you can imagine how much merciful Nityananda Prabhu will be. Nityananda Prabhu and Radharani are very merciful. So if you want to take up this path of bhakti, the Krishna consciousness, if you wanted to progress in your path, because you have seen so many obstacles in your family life, I understand every one of us are family, we are grahasthas, like householders. So we all, in day-to-day lives, now and then we see some obstacles, hindrances in our path of bhakti, correct? And chanting may not be perfect, no quality chanting, no attentiveness. We think about our cooking recipes or what to do for tomorrow, how to send your son to the school or daughter to your school. So a lot of things come to your mind on and off, correct? That's all because we are still in material body, and we are still conditioned by this environment, that is 3 modes of material nature. So what should we do is practice this path of bhakti regardless of those obstacles. Continue to practice and continue to desire and endeavor. So continue to desire means continue to have a willingness to practice bhakti, because if you're not interested anymore, then what is the point practicing it anyway, correct? So have the desire always there constantly, but even if you're interested or not interested, it is said you still practice, okay, just at least as a matter of duty you practice bhakti at this stage. Until we develop the pure taste for Krishna's love, we at least have to follow as a duty. You know how sometimes a woman gets married to a husband, a man who has never been in her life before until she got married to him. Then what does she do? She doesn't know him, she doesn't like him that much because she only met him now. She doesn't know how he is like or what he would do, so she has no idea. But still, as a matter of duty, as a wife, she does whatever to please his husband, correct? Cooking or cleaning the house, keeping herself clean and decorated, those side of things she has to maintain just to please her husband. Similarly, as a duty, similarly we also do whatever we can, offering flowers or fruits or water or tulsi leaf, whatever we can to within our capacity to Krishna, and chant Hare Krishna. Okay, until we develop pure love, we just keep doing this. This is called Vaidya Sadhana Bhakti. If we are doing it spontaneously, how Mother Yashoda spontaneously thinks about Krishna, thinks about what to cook for him. So we are thinking about what to cook for us. So the consciousness swifts. Okay, so the matter subject is same, cooking, but the object is different. For us, the object is us, but for Mother Yashoda or Radharani, the object is Krishna. So that's the difference. That's a huge difference, and that is Krishna consciousness. So we need to go towards that. For that, we need to pray to Nityananda Prabhu and Radharani, because they are more merciful than Krishna, right? So when we pray to them sincerely, saying, please allow me to practice bhakti, please allow me to handle all the problems, whatever it may come in my life, plus whatever obstacles are there, please remove them so I can chant and progress in my bhakti nicely, so I can go back home, back to Godhead after this lifetime. I don't want to take birth again, because if we take birth, what happens? We go through the cycle of birth and death, correct? So that is why pray to Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and of course Radharani. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said he came as, he is Krishna himself, but came in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and his bodily complexion also golden, molten golden, like Srimati Radharani. Okay, so five Panchatattva, five personalities are Krishna, Chaitanya, Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivasadi, five of them. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda means we follow in their line. So I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasa, and all others in the line of devotion. And then we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So each and every mantra we chant for 3 times each. Or you could do all the mantra one time and then again do it second time and third time. You repeat everything. You can do this way or that way. It's up to you, as long as you do that. But if you're not familiar, you don't know how to read the Sanskrit words, then do English translation. But try to do the Sanskrit. It's not very Sanskrit. It's more like a names only. Okay. If you need any help, please ask me. Okay. So now we move on to chapter 15, verse number 16. Dva imau purusha loke ksharascha akshara eva cha kshara sarvani bhutani kutastha kshara uchyate. Translation. Can anyone read this translation, please? Maybe Sumana? Okay, we lost Sumana there. Sushma, would you like to read, please?
Sorry, Mataji, like by mistake.
Okay, that's okay, Sumana. You're back. Would you like to read the translation for the 16th verse?
Yes, Mataji. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
This is very interesting verse. It compares the jivas in this material world with the jivas in the spiritual world. So we are called kshara, right? And they are called aksharas. So they are infallible. Okay, and the fallible, because we fell from the spiritual world, that's why we are fallible, and we are further very prone to, we are very vulnerable to fall again. Fall again means what? We might fall for this pride, anger, greed, envy, lust and illusion again and again, correct? Until we get rid of all these anarthas, which means impurities in our heart, and then we develop the pure love for Krishna, we will have to take repeated birth again and again, correct? So it's like until we clear our arrears and until we clear our exams and we pass and we get the satisfied mark, whatever the minimum pass mark is, until such time we have to continue to repeat our exams. We continue to study and then give exams, and then once we pass, we graduate and get out of the college or university, correct? Similarly, we are in this material world, we continue to take birth again and again and go through the 6 stages of life, 6 changes in our life. Taking birth and then growing and then producing offsprings and then maintaining it and then dwindling. The maintaining may come before also, like once you grow and then you maintain your age in the sense the growth. You don't grow very fast, only at the beginning you'll grow really fast like children, and then you maintain the growth and then produce offspring and then start to dwindle and then very old and then die. So these 6 stages, even for the birds also, animals also, they all jivas, we have to go through this path, the 6 stages in life, 6 changes, correct? But sometimes very minute insects, they might not go through the entire 6 changes. They may take birth and then produce offspring, then die. It might be the case, but in general concept, we understand these are the 6 changes that a jiva in material world has to go through, correct? But in the infallible jivas who are not conditioned by material, not conditioned by the matter, they are infallible. They don't have to go through those 6 changes. Because we come in contact with the matter, that's why we are going through these changes. Okay, and infallible, they are like they are with Krishna, and they enjoy their life with Krishna, and they give pleasure to Krishna's senses, thus they enjoy themselves also naturally. And other thing is, what is that? All the living entities are always liberated in oneness. So in the spiritual world, they are in oneness. And sometimes in the material world, within material world, we call some jivas as jivan muktas. Brahmabhute prasannatma. Na sochati na kashyati. So when you realize, when you have Brahman realization, that means you understand I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. When you understand that, you don't have to lament. You will be like Atmaram. Atmaram means who is satisfied within. Atmaram means the satisfaction within, and he is peaceful within, correct? So when he is, even in this material world, he behaves like that. He is like as if he is already liberated from this material world. What does that mean? When there is a situation where there is a problem, a disaster, whatever, he would be very like dhira. Dhira means equipoised. So he is not agitated by the fact that, oh, the bad things happening, and he is not excited, oh, good things happening. It doesn't mean he has become very dumb, dull or anything like that. Rather, he is seeing everything equally. Pandita samadarshinaha. So the Panditas who has learned the truth, absolute truth, they see everyone equal. Samadarshinaha. Darshina means seeing. Sama means equal. So he sees everyone equally, like that. And I have a nice story to tell. It reminds me of one time, it's in 1400 AD or something like that. There was a ship coming from France, like voyage ship. It was carrying goods like spices to India, and then some gold and some expensive valuable items in the ship. And it was coming on the ocean, and on the way it has to struggle with this two calamities that's going to happen. So one, the crew, the cabin captain in the from the cabin, he noticed there is some big creature coming towards the ship. So by having a close look at that creature, they noticed it is actually a Timingala. So Timingala is much bigger than a whale. So it is said Timingala can eat whales, number of whales. That means we know whale is really huge, and now you can understand or imagine how big the Timingala would be, correct? So it is coming towards the ship. It can easily swallow the ship. That's how huge it is. So it is coming towards the ship. And then the captain is so nervous and his mind is so disturbed, no idea what to do. It's coming towards them. He's now very anxious how to save the ship and the people. And on the other side, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there is a big wave coming. So the weather has changed, and it is bringing a big wave which will devour the ship as well. So there you go. If you escape, if you get freed from the Timingala, you still have to face another danger that is almost there on your way, which is the weather, that is the storm. And now if you escape from the storm, you have Timingala to be devoured by. So this is very dangerous situation, and he is so upset. He is giving instructions here and there. He is running from this place to another within the ship, and he is definitely panicking. And he noticed on the way, 15 minutes he's going up and down, he's noticing one man very sitting quietly, calmly, and just chanting some mantras. So he was like, wow, we are in so much of calamity now, and he is just peacefully chanting something. Let's go and ask, what is he doing? In the middle of this crisis, he had this curiosity, always people, like we are humans, we all have curiosity, right? Even in the middle of the danger. So he wanted to go and check it out, what is he doing? Because he is doing something extraordinary. Otherwise, why would he sit down peacefully? Everyone is, almost like losing their life. They already lost their life mentally. Only physical part has to be destroyed, but mentally they are almost gone. But he is very peaceful. So he approached and asked, what is he chanting and what is he looking at? What is the picture he is holding against his heart? Then this man is actually a devotee. He showed that Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra picture. And he said he is chanting the mantras, Hare Krishna. And he, that man, the French, the captain asked, so you are just praying to your God? And he said, yes. So would your God be able to save us from these calamities, the two dangers that is about to come? And this devotee very calmly said, the God is the creator of everything, and he is protecting us, everyone. He is protecting everything and everyone. And why not this? These are two, jujupis. It's nothing. Really? Then let's all pray to your God. Then everyone started to pray sincerely, very seriously. And they chanted with him. And then they closed their eyes and they did that. They noticed that all of a sudden, this Timingala started to take different direction, completely away from the ship. So he started going somewhere else. And the weather, it just disappeared. Whatever that they were seeing, the black cloud and the storm, it's just disappeared. The sun came out and became very nice and bright sky, which you could never imagine that could happen there at the time of the situation. So it surprised the captain so much, and he was so inspired. And by the time the ship just moved, he saw a big temple with the Sudarshan Chakra on the top, and he asked, "What is this? Where are we?" Then the devotee said, "This is Jagannath Puri. This is Jagannatha temple. And he is the one who saved us. He is the Lord of the universe." And immediately everyone fell down, right there, and they prayed. And the captain said, "Okay, let's go to the temple and offer everything, whatever we have in the ship, the gold, the spices, whatever we have in the ship, let us offer. Let us offer that to Jagannatha." So this captain asked, "Would your Jagannatha have enough room to occupy all these valuable things?" And devotee asked, "Of course." Lord of the universe, how come he doesn't have room? Everything is his room only, right? So then they went to the temple and offered everything they had, and then they left the French crew. So this is amazing how Krishna is protecting us, every time. But we have to sincerely pray, sincerely surrender. But what I have noticed some people do, they sincerely pray. They chant 16 rounds, they pray sincerely. Until when? Until their job is done. Once the job is done, say for example they wanted to get a new job or something, they pray nicely, they chant 16 rounds, and then once they got the job, they say, "Oh, Krishna gave me this new job which got me very busy, which is keeping me very busy, so I don't have time to do any more bhakti. I am doing, mentally, I'm in my mind, I'm doing it, but not able to do it practically. I'm just doing it in my mind though. I'm always chanting Hare Krishna." See, this kind of attitude is not going to take us anywhere. So Krishna is not deprived of our love or our money or anything. He has millions of Lakshmi Devi serving his lotus feet. The Gopas and Gopis are with him all the time, giving their love, the pure transcendental love. So how much love we can give him? Maybe this much, little much. But even for that, he is inspiring us. He is asking us, "Okay, give me that also. Whatever you have, give me that love." He's not asking for our money or anything else. But even for that too, we are thinking, "Oh, maybe not today. Tomorrow I will do it. Tomorrow, because today I had a bad headache and everything." See, especially when you are sick, that's when you need to chant more. That's how we can be relieved from this mental agony and everything. This is an unfortunate situation when people take advantage of Krishna's mercy, and then do you think Krishna doesn't know that? No, he knows everything. He knows our heart, he knows our attitude and everything. But still he falls for our love. He thinks, "Oh, this guy maybe love me tomorrow. That's okay today, but maybe he'll love tomorrow." Like that's how he is eager for us to love him back. He's giving us so much love. He's very eager to receive that reciprocation, the exchange of love. He's not asking for us to give unlimited love, because we are very limited in quantity, how much love we can give, but only that much he is asking. But even for that too, we are thinking, maybe not like that. Prabhupada mentions in this verse that in the spiritual world, the body does not change. Therefore, there is no old age or birth or death or any disease. Only because Shara Sarvani Bhutani, because we are coming in contact with the matter, right from Brahma to small ant, we have to go through this cycle. Uttama Purushastu Anyaha Paramatmeti Udaratah Yo Lokya Trayam Avishya Bibarti Avyaya Ishvarah. Soumya, would you like to read, please? The translation. This one. Manju, can they read?
Yes, Mataji, they can read.
Okay. That's okay, I'll read. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. So we say this Earth planet, and then there is upper planet and then lower planet. Okay, so Krishna as Mahavishnu, he creates this universe, unlimited universe, and then each universe he enters as Karanadakshayi Vishnu as Mahavishnu. He creates the universe and he enters as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Okay, so Mahavishnu is also called Karanadakshayi Vishnu. He creates unlimited universes, and in each universe he goes in the form of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. From his Garbha navel, Krishna's navel, the Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu's navel, the lotus stem come, and on the top there is a lotus flower. From there Brahma is born. Okay, so Brahma is born from the lotus navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Okay, and then there is in the stem there are 14 planetary systems divided. Okay, and we are in the Bhuloka, and Brahma resides in Brahmaloka. Okay. So in the each universe, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu and Brahma, there is set of 14 planetary systems there. It is always replicated in each universe. It's the same pattern. Okay, and there might be minor changes, but it's the same prototype. It's the same template. And then each jivas that is taken birth in the material body, they for each of them, the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu enters into the form of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu or Paramatma in every living entity's heart. In every living entity's heart, Paramatma resides in the heart. Okay, so we are part and parcel of Krishna. Okay, so Krishna not only creates this world but also maintains it. As Vishnu, he maintains it. Not only maintains it, he gives us all the facility for our enjoyment. He's not so far. He's so near. He's just within our heart. Okay, so we don't have to look for him somewhere else. We think, oh, Krishna is in the spiritual world. How can I get happiness or peace, and how can I get this satisfaction? You get everything. Just understand Krishna is within your heart. He's in everyone's heart. Sometimes we get angry towards someone, but remember, the Paramatma is living in their heart also. So therefore, we should always be mindful and careful of what or how we treat others. Next, 18th verse. Yashmaksharam aditoham aksharat api chotamaha atoshmi loke vedaicha praditaha purushotamaha. Manju, can you read this translation, please?
Yes, please. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas and as the supreme person.
Okay, so Krishna, so we saw jivas, that is fallible and infallible. There is another one. Who is that? Paramatma. He is maintaining everybody, and he is not fallible. He doesn't come into the category of fallible or infallible. He is transcendental, and he is the greatest, and he is celebrated both in the world and the Vedas as the supreme person. So the Vedas mainly focus on mode of goodness. Some part of Vedas focus on mode of goodness, some part of Vedas mode of ignorance, some part mode of passion. So sattva, rajas, tamas. So the Vedas split like that. But Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam are transcendental. It's directly spoken by Krishna is Bhagavad Gita. Directly spoken about Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's spoken about Krishna and his devotees and about devotion. So these are the three factors that is spoken in the subject matter in Srimad Bhagavatam. So both are very transcendental literature. And he is transcendental. And Vedas, if you see, sometimes they confuse us. Sometimes they talk about Shiva and they make Shiva as superior, and that confuses the people in general and think, okay, we worship Shiva as the superior because he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Padma Purana or Shiva Purana, it is, it is the way how they, celebrate that particular personality is like they are superior. Like if you go to a movie and it is Amitabh Bachchan movie, for example, and he is the hero, for example, they will glorify Amitabh Bachchan, right? They won't glorify the villain, obviously. So they will, the center of the film will be constantly focused on this hero of the film, who is Amitabh Bachchan. Like that, if you go to Shiva Purana or Padma Purana, it will be constantly focused on one personality, but then also how that personality is connected with other great personalities, but still they praise or, signify the supremacy of that personality that is spoken about in that verse. That is why before Srimad Bhagavatam was written by Srila Vyasadeva, after writing all the Vedas and Puranas, he was sitting down quietly in his ashram. He was contemplating and he was so totally depressed. He was thinking, why I have written so much and still I'm not satisfied. Sometimes you write a poem or you do nice articles or something like that. You write articles for the newsletter or something or magazine. You've written so much, but still your heart is not content. You're still having this emptiness in your heart, thinking, what, I could have done better, but I don't know what I have to do. I have done everything to my best of my knowledge, but what is there that I'm lacking? I don't know. That is how Vyasadeva was sitting and contemplating, right? And that is when we need Guru, the spiritual master. So Narada Muni arrived at that place and then he asked, why you are lamenting? Then he asked, Srila Vyasadeva asked, okay, you tell me why I'm so sad. Is it because I'm missing something? I haven't said more about Krishna? And then Narada Muni says, absolutely, you haven't spoken enough about Krishna. You haven't glorified enough about Krishna. In Vedas, if you see, in the beginning and the middle and the end, there is Krishna, but it's not throughout. So there is Vishnu, but not throughout the Vedas. If there is throughout the Vedas, then everyone would have become devotees, right? But there is a very valid reason for that also, why Vyasadeva did that, because Vyasadeva is none other than literary incarnation of Krishna. So he knows what he's doing, because Krishna only wanted him to do that way. Because there are different kinds of people. Some people like blue color, some people like yellow color, some people like white color. If I only give red color to everybody, not everyone will be happy. So that's why Vedas are split into mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. So according to their mood. So for example, Narasimha Purana, Padma Purana, these come under mode of ignorance. See, even Narasimha Purana they put under the mode of ignorance, like that. And then Vishnu Purana, Ramayana, about Rama, that will come in the mode of goodness. But not all Vishnu Tattva Puranas would come in mode of goodness, not necessarily. So that's how Vedas were split. So it is confusing, right? So therefore we should not think that, whoever we see or we were told that person is supreme until we have authority, until we have received the knowledge from authoritative source. Okay. So Vyasadeva was chastised by Narada Muni that you have not exclusively and constantly glorified Krishna. That is why you are not satisfied. So write something that is exclusively and constantly glorifying Krishna, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Vyasadeva did that. Then he was very happy. Okay. So whoever reads Bhagavatam or hears Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they will be liberated. Liberated means they will be freed from this material world, the consciousness, material consciousness or bodily consciousness. And then going back to Vaikuntha Loka or Golaka Vrindavan, it's a secondary. But as long as you are not agitated by all this duality in the material world, like good and bad, profit and loss, success and failure, then you will be peaceful, correct? Because of all those things that we see in our life, why this happened, why that happened, why not this much, why not that much, then we will be miserable. If we are not satisfied within, we will always feel that way, miserable. So here the living entity compared to the Lord, both are always individuals. Difference is that living entity at any stage, conditioned or liberated, cannot surpass in quantity the conceivable potency of the Lord. Okay, so see, Krishna has three primary shaktis. The one is internal shakti, external shakti, and then marginal potency. So internal potency, marginal potency, and external potency. Antaranga shakti, bahiranga shakti, and tatastha shakti. So we, the jivas, come under the category of tatastha shakti, which means we are in the marginal. So internal potency is spiritual, external potency is material. Okay, so because we are in the middle, like there is an ocean, there is a seashore, and there is a other side of the ocean. Okay, like a road or something. So to go to the road or go into the ocean, right, it's up to us. We choose, because Krishna gives us the free, minute independence, even though we are individual living entities. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. We saw that in the 15th verse in this chapter. So we are part and parcel of Krishna, correct? But still Krishna has given us the minute independence. We are not quantitatively same, but qualitatively same with Krishna. So we choose, okay, let's go and do spirituality, practice of bhakti, or let's go and enjoy in the material world. It's up to us. But we should know that material ocean is always drowning. You can't swim there forever. And there are so many bad things there, like sea animals and everything. So it's very dangerous. Samsara Sahara, the material ocean, is always giving you this cycle of birth, death, old age and disease. Therefore, it's not a good idea. So until or unless we follow the correct path, which is the spiritual path, bhakti, then we will have to be again and again, repeatedly take birth in this material world. Okay, so verse number 19. Yomam eva ashamudao janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavana bharata. Translation. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Bharata. So clearly it is said, if you know Krishna is everything, because we have seen how Krishna is the taste in the water, Krishna is the heat in the fire, light in the sun. So he is everything. If you see, the Krishna consciousness is not different from what we see. So everything, whatever you see, is, you can see and relate that to Krishna. If you see a beautiful girl, you can say, oh, the beauty is that coming from Krishna. If you see a strong man, then you can understand the strength coming from Krishna. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita also. Okay, so when we hear, see, if I tell you something, oh yeah, you know what, I bought this machine, it works perfectly. Like, why machine? Let's see, I bought this facial cream or something. Okay, and it works very nice. If you try, it will work better. It will work for you also. Then you will be like, okay, let me give it a go. And then you'll try and it works for you. Then you're satisfied. Then you tell some other people like that. Like, for example, in our group also, Sushma has been in touch with me probably 3 years or something, or at least 2-3 years. And she was very fortunate to be able to have darshan of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and came for Jagannath Ratha Yatra. That's where I met her. Because of her purity, how she got attracted to this Krishna consciousness, immediately she started to encourage her sister. Like, we have Manju in our group. And because, again, the same thing, I met her in the temple one time. Maybe it was 5 years ago. And that time, we came in contact in the Krishna temple and we spoke, and then she started to practice. and she received that inspiration from Krishna, and then she started to tell that to her family members back in India, and then they are also trying to follow in her path. This is what it is, this is what we are all doing. For me personally, I also went to the citizenship ceremony one time at one devotee, one of the great devotees and perfect devotees I could ever meet, and because of his mercy, I was introduced to this Krishna consciousness, and I started to practice, and I derived so much of immense pleasure and benefits, and very very deep within. It's not that external, even though it was external also, like I was getting some extra material benefits also, which is a bonus. It is always like that, it's a package, you can't avoid. Krishna is very merciful. Even though you are asking for pure devotional service, until you have achieved that purity, he will give you this type of material benedictions without asking, because he knows what you need. He will give you that anyway, like that. So this is how it works. When we understand that Krishna is everything, automatically, how do we know? By Guru Parampara only. So we hear, like Shruti, we hear from someone, bona fide source. We can't hear from anybody. I think I told this example. If there is a glass of milk, and it's a very nice milk, tasty, fresh milk, but if it is touched by the serpent, what happens? The poison will be added, correct? Then if you drink the milk, it is not going to help you, correct? That will, of course, it is a poison, we will have to die. So when the Bhagavatam reciters, they speak Bhagavatam, even though it is Srimad Bhagavatam, it is about Krishna, but they speak for money. They speak professionally, for professional maintenance. Then what happens? It is like a serpent touching the milk, even though it looks like a milk, even though you are thinking, oh, it's Bhagavatam, let me hear that from the TV. No, you have to hear from the authorized source, the bona fide spiritual master. You can't just hear from anybody. Okay, so the last verse. Iti guhyattamam sastram idam uktam mayanaga etad bhutva buddhiman syat kritta krityasha bharata. Translation. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So how one can achieve perfection? Simple. Just accept Krishna is the supreme and just follow him, that's all. Whatever he says in Bhagavad Gita, just follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, how he was submissively and sincerely hearing that from Krishna. It is said that to come into Krishna consciousness, chanting his holy name is not easy. It's easy in the sense, it's not that cheap. Okay, it is mentioned that we have taken millions of births, and in that we have done hundreds and tons of yagyas, the piety, and so many ajnana sukriti that we have accumulated. Ajnana sukriti means without any intention we have served devotees. Okay, bhakti mukha sukriti means knowingly this is a devotee, so I should serve him. That will give you a credit of bhakti mukha sukriti. So both will help us to progress in our bhakti. So to get ajnana sukriti, that means we have done a lot of piety and satisfied devotees unknowingly, unintentionally, and then only after that we get the shraddha. Shraddha means the faith. Until or unless we have done all that, we don't even get the faith. Even if you go and tell someone, chant Krishna's holy name, do you think they will follow? No. Unless they have accumulated that much sukriti in their past lives, they don't even have faith in whatever you are saying. So I know my close relative, and she's very close to me, and she wouldn't tell, she wouldn't have faith. I mean, she has faith, but she wouldn't follow me. She wouldn't say, she would be like, well, you follow your path, I follow my path, and I'll chant, but it won't be like I fully surrender to Krishna and do only that. See, Krishna consciousness is not fanatical or sentimental. Okay, it's very, very scientific. You need to follow simply as per your capacity. Okay, you're chanting, but try to increase it. That's the key. You can't sit at first standard forever. You have to move on, correct? You can't sit at, oh, I'm in year 9. I don't want to go to university and I'll stay here like that. No, you have to move on. So like if you have been chanting 2 rounds for last 5 years, that's not good enough. You have to endeavor. But it doesn't mean it's bad. You're so bad, you're waste. No, not like that. But you can, you can try and do more. Every Ekadasi it is said, if you do one extra round, like if you're doing 1 round every day, consistently, okay, that is the key word, consistently. You're not like, I'm doing 2 rounds today and then no rounds tomorrow. And then 3rd day I'll do 1 round. And then 4th day I'll do 2 rounds. No. Consistency, even if it is 1 round, just maintain that consistency each day, 1 round. And whatever time it is, but it is ideal if you do it in the morning, fresh thing in the morning. Even if you haven't brushed your teeth or taken bath, doesn't matter, just do it on the bed or something. See, we can't expect the perfection already. Meditation, it won't bring you perfection until you have to practice, and then you will achieve perfection. Even the great yogi still hasn't achieved perfection, haven't. And Vishwamitra, he was almost at the last stage of his yogic process, and samadhi stage. What happened? He fell for Menaka. Correct? So it's not easy. But with bhakti though, we can be guaranteed. Krishna says that Swalpa apiyashya dharmashya. Even if you have done little devotional service, little bit, I will protect you from all the sins and all the danger that you can ever think of. Okay? So Prabhupada says that in this the purport, when there is sun, there is no darkness. When there is Krishna, there is no Maya. Okay? So when we properly follow under the guidance of spiritual master, then you will not be in ignorance. You will be in the transcendental platform. Okay? I'll stop here. Thank you very much. And next week we will summarize all these verses and you will tell me your realization from this chapter or in general, whatever you like. Okay? So any questions?
Mataji, in verse 17, I think there was a mention that about 3 worlds.
Yes.
So I didn't understand exactly which are those 3 worlds. One would be material world which we are staying, and one is where Krishna stays, the supreme world.
No. Vishnus are only the Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. They are only residing in the material world, and Paramatma is maintaining only the material world. And the 3 world it mentions, I was going to tell, but I got carried away. So the Bhuloka is the middle planetary system, that is one world. And then there is the upper world and then the lower world. It's like upper planet and then the lower planet. So 3. So okay. Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Satyaloka, Mahaloka, Tapaloka and then Brahmaloka. Satyaloka and Brahmaloka same. And then down, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rastala, Patala. So there is 7. So up 6. Middle 1. So total if you count 14. Okay, that is what it is meant. And if you go to spiritual world, there is no Shirodakshaya Vishnu. There is no Mahavishnu or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. They are not there. And in the spiritual world, you don't have Paramatma in your heart. Only in the material world, because Krishna is so merciful, because we forget him, that's why he wanted to stay with us, so he can inspire us in one way or another. So sometimes he inspires someone to come talk to me about Krishna. That is also because of Paramatma. Okay. So because we have this tendency to forget in the material world. But in the spiritual world, Krishna is present by himself. Therefore, you don't need to be reminded through Paramatma, because their only job is to think about Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said in Vaikuntha planets, there are so many millions of Lakshmi Devis, correct? And what they do, they take an aeroplane to visit from one place to another within the Vaikuntha planet. and when they do, they pass the garden of fragrant flowers, okay, that gives you so much of nice intoxifying fragrance that you'll forget about everything, like that. Sometimes even if you smell jasmine, in India mostly, but not here unfortunately, jasmine or nice lily flower, you smell it and you'll just forget for a moment, oh wow, what a great smell, it's so beautiful. So you smell it like that, you forget. So, and then you can imagine Vaikuntha planet, how much more powerful or potent that flowers would be, correct? And the prayers of this Vaikuntha Lakshmi Devis are, they say, and they pray that, oh please don't pass any fragrance until we cross this over, because we don't want to forget Krishna. We always wanted to remember Krishna, that is not Krishna, Narayana or Vishnu. We don't want to forget him, forget about our service to Narayana. Their mood is service mood. In Krishna Loga, their mood is to chastise Krishna, criticize Krishna. Their mood in Golaka Vrindavan is so natural, and bhava is so different. They have friendly bhava, or parenting, or lover, and what else, service mood also there, and some quiet, like cows, they give milk in Golaka Vrindavan, they are like in a neutral Santarasa. So here in Vaikuntha, they are all in the Dashya Rasa. They have this servitorship mood. They wanted to serve Krishna, Vishnu or Narayana. So they just pray that please, the fragrant flower, please don't produce your nice smells, because we will forget the service, like that. So their mood is like that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not consistent on chanting. Sometimes, I always wake up 4 o'clock, but in the morning, like my husband has to go for work. After preparing lunch and everything, I start my chanting. And what happened, like sometimes I do 4 rounds, 6 rounds, sometimes 8 even, and sometimes not even a single round. I'm not consistent. What should I do? Like, I really want to be consistent. Any suggestion, any
Yes.
guidance?
Pray to Krishna sincerely. Pray to Krishna. That is the very practical solution, because what happens, our mind is always tricking us, saying, look, you are tired today, don't chant. Oh, you have the kids chores to do, don't chant. You are so busy, you've been having a hectic day, don't chant, don't worry, tomorrow we'll do, like that. So mind is always a trickster. So what we need to do is, we can't avoid our mind, because mind can be our best friend, also greatest enemy, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So we can't do much about the mind or avoiding the mind. The one thing we can do is pray to Krishna sincerely, that Krishna, I am so eager to chant, but I don't have a mood or a time or the interest or the inspiration. Please give me what I need to chant consistently. Whether it's a 1 round or 2 round, doesn't matter. Please help me to start this consistency in my chanting and attentive chanting. But if you're not attentive, it's okay. Just chant anyway. Okay? Because even after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, people are still not attentive. It doesn't mean we can be excused of that. No, so it's still, we are in this material world, we are still contaminated by all these 3 modes, so we cannot expect perfection. The only thing is, we try to gradually progress from our own self. So like last year I was not even chanting, but this year I've started chanting, great. But I wanted to do this gradually and progress more and go closer to Krishna. So to have attentive chanting, we can keep Krishna's picture, look at his lotus feet or lotus eyes or something like that, and keep looking and keep remembering that face and keep chanting. That is one way of bringing that attentiveness. Okay, but that's okay. All come by practice. We keep practicing, but before that we keep praying. Pray to Krishna, because for me, whatever it is, even if it is the biggest job or a tiny job, and if I remember to pray, because sometimes we forget, we think we are the owner, we are the controller, we can solve the problem. That also happens. But as soon as I remember, oh, what I'm doing, let me pray to Krishna, he will solve the problem. Why I am breaking my head, then I pray to Krishna, then the problem is solved. So this happened to my life every single time. So it's not just it happened to me 2 years ago, I'm not doing that. No, every time I pray to Krishna, please help me. What to do? If I don't understand someone, please help me to understand that person. Like that. So you can pray. Does that help, Manju?
Yes, actually, I always want to do chanting, even though I don't want to watch TV or don't want to go walk. Even though my husband said just let's go for walk, it's good for you. Even I always in mood to do chanting, but sometimes the circumstances happen like I am not able to do chanting. That's I feel really really bad, but I couldn't do anything that time.
It's okay, Manju, because you have a desire to chant, which is what important. That is the first step. Okay, if we don't even have desire, then what is the point? You have a desire and you make an endeavor, and simultaneously you pray to Krishna that please help me, and he will make all the arrangements. You don't even have to worry. He will inspire you from within. Paramatma will inspire us. Hey, you know what? Now the kids are sleeping, why don't you chant? And then if we are listening to that, we will be like, yes, that's right, let me chant. But if our mind is very tricky and say, don't worry, I have to watch something now, I forgot how to cook that recipe, this is the time I have to watch this recipe, something like that. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying you can't watch the recipe or anything. I'm just giving you an example how we get deviated quickly. So for that we have to listen to our Paramatma also. Whenever you get that inspiration, that instinct coming from within, then you try to listen to that also. Sometimes mind will tell you, don't think the mind is Paramatma. That is another problem with us. We think, oh, the mind, the Paramatma is telling me, but actually that was mind. So you need to be able to differentiate that also. But if you're confused, that's when you need to ask Guru. Okay? But for now, please pray and endeavor. You have to make an effort also. You can't just sit and desire only and think Krishna will inspire me. You need to make an endeavor. If you're going for a walk, let me chant, and you just chanted one bead. Then kid is asking you a question. You answered. And then you started second bead. Your husband is saying something. You're like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Why these people are not quiet? Let me try the third beat. And then again someone is saying something. And then you started seeing, looking at the bird. Oh my God, where is the bird coming from? Now you're lost. It happens. But don't worry. Krishna sees the effort you put in the middle of your situation. He doesn't see how many beats you chanted, how many rounds you chanted. He sees your sincere effort. He says, oh my God, even in the middle of her family situation, she is trying to chant my names. How great she is. That's what he sees. He magnifies our good qualities and he just neglects our bad qualities. That is Krishna. So try to endeavor also. Okay. Keep your chanting beads with you. I'm sorry, I have to post you the chanting beads, and I was going to find out whether I can post it like that. But I will try and do this. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So if no questions, we stop here.